Michigan Motor Speedway. They're lean, they're mean, they're 5 to 7 horses, a man and machine. They're 4 wide before they start to slip and slide. The Coast2Coast Racing League 350A Modifieds, Pro Late Models, and the 360 Sprint Cars.
We are live on the Coast to Coast Racing Network. I am Zach Chapman here with Shaggy TV, and we're at Volusia Speedway here with the Flatline Racing Bodies, hometown heroes, and it looks like here we are. We're going to roll right into qualifying, so not much messing around here. I think last week we rolled over around 8 o'clock, so brought it up a little closer to quarter of this time to save my breath a little bit, but yeah, skipped out on practice here. But right now, first car on track looks to be, you know what, we're with Gavin Chatham. Let's stay with the 99 here. Let's watch him take a lap around Volusia. This guy is in pole contention, that's for sure. His first lap here, he's going to stay above that slick. Let's see, Brian Moore Sr., purple through Sector 1. He's going to take that first pole time. Right behind him, Gavin Chatham's Dino takes the pole now in that 79. What does he have through 3 and 4 for the final time? Did Isaac Salas maybe flirt with a pole here? Yes, he did. Isaac Salas is going to stamp here on his second and final lap. Let's watch Brad Waite cross the line. Improve through Sector 2. Does he move up? Going to move up to 6th spot. Kel Bixler crosses the line. He's slower. Yellow, yellow. Let's see who we still have here. Brian Moore Jr. here. That was him finishing up lap number 1. That's only going to be 15th fastest. He needs to improve here lap number 2. Brian Moore in that yellow jacket, man. Him and his dad, they run those identical schemes. Difference between him and dad tonight, though, is... Let's see, 9 spots. Is Brian Moore Sr. able to put it 5th and Brian Moore Jr. 14th. Let's see, Bob Curtis here. He's struggling coming through 3 and 4. His final time around. Slower through Sector 2 is going to stay P16. So that's going to do it for qualifying here. Slide job, Isaac Salas on the pole. Dean Reynolds 2nd. Gavin Chatham 3rd. Blake Chapman 4th, and Brian Moore Sr. rounding out the top 5. 8 cars in this heat, so it's looking like we're only going to have 2 heats here tonight. Big heats. I like this. It makes for a lot better racing as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? To me, that's all that matters here tonight. Because I'm the spark of the show here. Got to keep a good positive attitude, and I think having all these good guys on the track at once, that's the way to do it. But let's bring up the starting grid here for heat race number 1, presented by Gambler Motorsports. Starting on the pole, the Ant-Man, Anthony Morano, and his outside, Brian Moore Sr. Gavin Chatham rolls off on the inside of row number 2. And his outside, cue up the music, we got Salsa, Slide Job, Isaac Salas. Mike Cramner rolls off on the inside of row number 3. It is outside the mayor, Steve Bixler. Pat Boyce, the librarian, rolls off on the inside of row number 4. And to his outside in the 014, GJ Boydell. The Iron Man. That's right. I always forget to call Greg the Iron Man. That is his nickname. He's cooled off a little bit here in the past couple seasons. We've got him back out here running some dirt now, but man, there was a time. I'm not sure if he still leads the league in laps or not, but man, he was out here putting them down. The green flag is high. It's ready to fly. Let's go play in the clay at Volusia Speedway. Heat race number 1 underway. The 32 brings us to the green flag. Anthony Morano trying to hook up that bottom through 1 and 2, but right now Brian Moore Sr. coming with a roar on that high side. He's going to shut the door into 3 and 4. New leader here at the charity stripe. Brian Moore Sr., as they were 3 wide for a second going down the front stretch. Anthony Morano from 1st to 4th here in a matter of seconds as the 99 of Gavin Chatham and the 5 of Isaac Salas roll on by. Too close to call it the line between the 5 and the 99. Gavin's taking it downstairs, going to search there in 1 and 2. Hooks up pretty good, still even going into 3 and 4. Now, right now, this is where you want to be up top. Isaac with a big head of steam coming off, and Gavin maybe comes up, gets into the 5. Broke right front. Isaac Salas, he's able to continue for at least now, but Brian Moore Sr. out front, trying to walk away. Anthony Morano comes back to P2. Greg Boydell up to 5th here, trying to make a move on. Pat Boyce really crowds him up going into 3 as they're looking to get the white flag this time. Final time around heat race number 1. This is the battle on track. Greg Boydell really going to go up there, feed him that right rear, but left the lane open. Brian Moore Sr. comes to the start-finish line. He is your heat race number 1 winner, followed by Anthony Morano, Mike Cramner, Steve Bixler, Greg Boydell. Just edged out Pat Boyce there through 3 and 4, and Isaac Salas 7th. Gavin Chatham rounds out the field. I'm sure He felt a little bad there for that contact with Isaac. And, while that is going to make Isaac feel a little better, it's definitely not going to make him feel as good as possibly finishing second or first there in that heat. But Gavin, he doesn't race like that. That wasn't intentional, and it's just one of those things gonna happen, man, when the whole field is fast here. But heat race number 2, sponsored by Regency Home Inspections, looks a little something like this. Starting on the pole, we've got the high side banger Patrick Spangler into his outside in the 814 Brad Waite. Inside of row number 2, Blake Chapman, the salesman, into his outside, Dean Reynolds. Inside of row number 3, we've got Cale Bixler into his outside, the Brewerton Beast, Jeff Barker. Rounding out the field, Brian Moore Jr. into his outside, Brian Curtis. Now, last week, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, we were treated to one of the best finishes we've ever seen in Coast to Coast between that 39 and 20 car, Patrick Spangler and Blake Chapman. Hell of a race, and here at Volusia, I expect nothing less here. These guys are going to do it again. Heat race number 2 underway. Let's go play. Patrick Spangler tightened up there on exit, almost got into the inside wall. Brad Waite going to drive back under that slide job, and Patrick Spangler, he's got a slot in line up high, but right now, the 814 here is going to lead lap number 1. Blake Chapman's going downstairs. He loves to search in that basement, always looking around for what his parents are hiding. And I think he found something useful here tonight. Moving on up to P2 as Jeff Barker goes around. Blake Chapman had P2 at the line. Let's see what he can do here as he tries to run down the 814. Going to run a slider line here in 3 and 4. Going to follow Brad Waite as Brad Waite right now looks to be, a little too tough to handle out front. So we have the lap times up last times around. Brad Waite was quicker. Let's see. We're going to leave it up this way, and then we'll change it to the gap here. As Blake Chapman, you see a 13.98 all over the rear bumper of the 814 as they go through 3 and 4. White flag in the air, final time around. This is where it's at. Blake gonna scare that 814 up, get real close to that left rear, and that's where sometimes having a mirror can hurt you. Blake gonna drive low here. Can he get it to stick as he comes off a 4? No. Brad Waite's gonna win heat race number 2. Blake Chapman second. Patrick Spangler third. Cale Bixler fourth. Brian Moore Jr., Dean Reynolds, Bob Curtis, and Jeff Barker round out the field. Great race there in heat race number 2. As we're going to take a quick break here on the Coast to Coast Racing Network. Man, that was really quick here. 2 heats, 10 minutes. As, you know what? We've got all night to run the ads. Hopefully, I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I haven't talked enough. This has gone so quick. I'm going to stick around for warm-ups. I've got my drink. Got everything I need. I can take a little sip here every now and then, but let's just watch some of these guys who... Anthony Morano, you got to think he's going to have something here come feature time. That 32 is always quick. I mean, Brian Moore Sr., he's been a big dog here. Gavin Chatham, he's got to come through the field. But now, my pick of the race here, I'll just do this now. It's going to be this kid, especially with the way he was working that bottom. Not many people can do that in the fixed setup the way he does, but everybody talks about in these fixed setups how aggressive the gear is. They really got him singing at the end of the straightaway, and I think, that's going to benefit Blake. He's going up high right now, but don't let him fool you. I think he's going to end up on that bottom here. For the beginning part of this feature, I'd be shocked as... You see, he moves there to the top of the charts, 13.95. Dean Reynolds here, right in front of Blake. He's been quick in this 79. Won in the retreads last night. Top 5 in the Renegades, I believe. And Dino has just been on a charge here as of late. You put him in this wing. Kisses that wall a little bit. Get that out now, Dino. You don't want to be doing that come feature time here. Patrick Spangler doing the iconic, what the 39 always does. They won't even switch to him here, I guess. He's just sitting in the pits. That's what that 39 likes to do. Not going to go out there and show his cards yet. A little too early for the high side banger, but Brad Wade here. We saw he was able to hold off the field, but not as quick as he'd like right now. P6 trying to experiment, flirting with that bottom, but track's going to really change here as we have 16 cars and 25 laps, man. A lot can happen, so expect the unexpected this evening at Volusia as we get ready to roll off here. 10 more seconds, or now 5 more seconds of warm-ups, and some guys beating up that bottom, some guys beating up the top, you know. They don't segregate here in Coast to Coast. They beat the top and beat the bottom evenly, so you're not safe anywhere here, especially these guys once you put them in the 410s here later, man. I see cars slipping and sliding all over the surface here as we get ready for tonight's feature event here at Volusia, and your starting grid is going to look a little something like this. Starting on the pole, Brian Moore Sr. into his outside, Brad Waite. Inside of row number 2, the Ant-Man, Anthony Morano. Into his outside, the salesman, Blake Chapman. Inside of row number 3, Mike Cramner. And his outside, the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. Inside of row number 4, Steven Bixler. And his outside in the 789, Cale Bixler. Oh, yeah, hey, we got the father-son there, row number 4. So keep your eye on row number 4. Hopefully there's no bad blood between those two, as, man, it could get ugly here early. Row number 5. G.J. Boydell on the inside row, and to his outside, Brian Moore Jr. The librarian rolls off on the inside of row number 6, and to his outside, Dean Reynolds. Slide job, Isaac Salas rolls off on the inside of row number 7, and to his outside in the 012, Bob Curtis. Rounding out the field this evening, row number 8, Gavin Chatham, and to his outside, the Brewerton Beast, Jeff Barker. Should go around more than once here, I believe. They normally don't shorten it on me here to start. They aren't. So we're going to roll around one more time here. So I made my pick there in warm-ups. If you weren't paying attention, we got Blake Chapman in the 20 to win this thing. But see a lot of people out there watching. Let us know who you're rooting for in the chat box. Get it in now or it doesn't count. As far as I'm concerned, you can't say you picked it. Hit that thumbs up button. Share it. Hit that share button. Let your friends know what you're doing tonight. Get the word out that Coast to Coast Hometown Heroes is back on Wednesday nights. And we're here tonight at Volusia Speedway as the pace car is off. Brian Moore Sr. brings us to the green flag. Brian Moore Sr. trying to get room to float up, but Blake Chapman going to go right up in there, trying to go from 4th to 2nd here early. As the Ant-Man stuck on the bottom, Blake Chapman moves up to P2. He's not wasting any time, right back downstairs. I told you in warm-ups he wouldn't. He loves that bottom. Anytime there's tack down there, that kid loves finding it. Gonna try to get that run off of 4. Can't float up. Gotta crank that wheel down. He loses a little bit of steam, but still side by side in 1 and 2. Blake is not going away just yet. Gonna kind of get in line here coming off of 3. Let's see what he does going into 1 and 2 before we check back in the field here. Let's go back and see what's going on. G.J. Boydell looks below the 70 of Mike Cramner, but we've got a caution out. Was it slide job, Isaac Salas involved? I believe it was. Let's go see. It's Isaac right now running behind the librarian there, Pat Boyce. Mike Cramner gets into the wall. Pat Boyce slows down a little bit. Isaac can't check up in time, and they both go around, and Isaac gives us a wheelie. Whoa! And he kept it off the wall. Good job, Isaac. Man, that could have been a tough one there. But right now, Blake Chapman in second place. Not sure if Brad Waite's showing his hand early here, if he plans to take that inside line in the 814. I mean, not that it really matters. Leader's choice here. He can do what he wants. As Brad Waite is hanging out down low. Lights should go off this time on the pace car, so he's going to... Leader's choice, he's going to choose down low. Brian Moore Sr., he's got no say in the matter here as you see guys go into their appropriate lines. Brad Wade, he'll have that tack down low that Blake Chapman's been flirting with. And right now he's going to run in the middle. He's got to go a little lower here if he wants to take full advantage of being the leader here. Really stick that left rear down there. He does, and he gets a good jump. Great restart there for the 814 of Brad Wade. Brad Wade immediately goes up to that top shelf, knows he needs to shut the door. Brian Moore Sr. able to hold on to P3, does a good job restarting on that bottom. We saw what it did to Anthony Morano earlier. He's able to get back into fourth, and behind him, Cale Bixler in that 789. He's on the move up 3 spots, trying to look below the Ant-Man as they were almost 3 wide for a little bit there. And 3 and 4, Cale Bixler looking to that middle lane. Can he find any grip? Not just yet. Let's go up to the tower. We see Dean Reynolds on the outside of Patrick Spangler right now. The high side banger down 2 spots, struggling early as Dean Reynolds. Dean Reynolds. You saw their big wreck for Dino. Let's go back. Let's look at the replay. We caught it a little bit. Dean Reynolds here. Just goes up, gets into the outside wall. Comes out of the wall right as Gavin Chatham goes by, and boom, hard into the tires. That thing explodes. And my, oh my. That may have cut the 79's night short here, as we're going to stay on board for Dino for this one, full speed. Ends up right against the inside wall. And now Dino, after really charging his way up through the field, is going to have to hit the restart button and go do it again here. Hopefully he can get out of the pits in time. That's going to be his issue. He doesn't want to get out of the pits. Or, you know, he did tow fairly early. He didn't mess around with his toe there. So hopefully Dean will be able to get out before they take the green flag and won't have to worry about going a lap down. But as of now, Dean's still on pit road. Patrick Spangler, he is out of this race. What happened to the high side banger? Go back. Did he crash under this caution here? So not too sure what happens to Patrick, because that's at the caution. He doesn't have damage, but now Patrick is gone as the green flag is underway. We're back racing here at Volusia Speedway. Gail Bixler looking to do some damage down there on the bottom is Gavin Chatham in the 99. Tries to get a run there as well, but lifts out early going down the backstretch. Here he rolls. Back to the outside of Kel Bixler. Kel's going to try to slap back up in line right in front of the 5 of Isaac Salas, who has to go up the track and react, but it's heating up front, ladies and gentlemen. The salesman here, he wants to sell you some popcorn here later, and he's trying to do it from that top step, but he's going to have to wait. Caution is out. The Brewerton Beast involved in an accident in the 513. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here. Oh, he gets a shot from Pat Boyce. And boy, oh boy, did that thing go for a ride here. You see Pat, he's floating up, floating up. Gets him a shot, and Barker, man, he doesn't stand a chance. Bob Curtis drives under that thing in style. We have to go back and find a Bob Curtis onboard here. See what he sees. So he sees Pat there go up and give Barker some early dinner, and then Bob's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? Well, he bicycles right up in time, and Bob hits the gas. You see that nose lift up and drives right underneath. As, maybe we got a little lucky there in that heat. They went pretty quick here. Now the caution bug has caught up to us here at Volusia Speedway, and Blake Chapman, he's got to be facing his palm here. Just head down, discouraged every time he tries to get a run, goes and makes a move. Caution comes out. You only got so many tricks before you show the driver in front of you all of them, and you got to be wondering how many he's got left in that bag. Excuse me if you heard me hiccup there. Lights are off on the Steve King Foundation pace truck, and Brad Waite will bring us back to the green flag, this time by 4th start of the race here after our 3rd caution. As we're going to go up here to the flag stand. The green flag is high, and the 814 is rolling. We're back underway. Brian Moore Sr. back here. He didn't get the best restart, but he made up a little bit of time on Blake going down the back stretch, trying to run back down P2. Battle on for P4, Anthony Morano and Gavin Chatham. Anthony Morano can't make it work downstairs, and now all of a sudden, he might become lunch meat here to the 5 as he's got to throw that slider and get back up in line. He does. You just saw it up front here. Blake Chapman trying to run down Brad Waite here. He's like a cat just stalking his prey, slowly nicking into that lead. And, Brian Moore Sr., he is coming too, so Blake's got to go. I mean, as soon as he gets to this rear bumper and gets a chance to make a move, this 20's got to do it. He's going to be feeling pressure from this 558 here in 3rd place is Brian Moore Sr. He is quick right now. Let's go on board with that 558. You see, running a lane lower than these guys, and it is working in 3 and 4, but once again, you see that yellow bar. Green flag run spoiled here. Caution is out. Let's see if we can figure out what was going on here. Oh, there we go. That's definitely what was going on here. Who was it, though, is the question. Trying to get a good view of this. SDK says nobody wrecked. Well, we see there was a pretty big wreck there. Who was that? Drove off here. Wasn't Steve Bixler. Let's see here. Was it Kale, possibly? Okay, there it is. Yeah, the 789. Cale Bixler hits the wall, goes up and over. Wow, comes out in front of Pat Boyce, and Pat T-bones him. Caution is out, and somehow he's able to roll that thing onto pit road. My, oh my, wild ride for that 789. That was, man, that was vicious. His lights are off. So we're going to go back green this time by Brad Waite. Has led every lap so far, but Blake Chapman trying to change that here. Is, you know, last week in the 360s he got edged out by Patrick Spangler. He'd love to make up some points here, as Patrick Spangler still not too sure what did happen to him there. I wish I could give you some clarification, but the green flag is out here. 9 to go at Volusia as we're back underway. Blake Chapman immediately going downstairs here, seeing what he can find, and just through the middle of the corner, just doesn't get that run that the 814 does, but really gets it back going down the back stretches. There's a lot of tack down there still left on the bottom. Gonna go back up top here through 1 and 2. Does he counter down? No, he's gonna stay up here. He says, Shaggy, I saved the tires long enough. I'm going to let this thing go eat. I need it to stay green. It hasn't, so I got to get aggressive early. Gavin Chatham up 11 spots. Just got around Anthony Morano there on that last run, but hasn't been able to run down Brian Moore Sr. Is, you know, there it is again. Caution out. I believe the 41 of Pat Boyce. That is not Pat Boyce. This is Pat Boyce. Let's see if we can figure out what happened here. Right now, looking below Greg Boydell. So he's... can't really tell here. Does he come up and get into Greg? Greg maybe came down a little bit just running his normal line, maybe not knowing that the 41 of Pat Boyce was there. He nudges that inside wall, can't get the car turned around, and caution fly. Gonna have 5 to go here when we take the green flag, so a short little stint, you know, if you're the leader. I mean, this isn't the most fun race to win, but it's kind of a little perfect. You know, you do these short stints here and not really enough time for you to make a mistake or for anyone to get around you, and then hit the reset button and go again. Whereas if you're these guys behind, that's the pressure's on. You got to be perfect every lap to go up there and try to make the pass. You know, you're not going to get 20 laps green flag. You're only getting these 3 or 4. You got to nail the restart, and the pressure's on you. But lights are still on, so we'll go around one more time here. Lights should go off on the truck this time. So it looked like to me, lights are off around the speedway, so we'll be back green, and we will have 5 to go when we take the green flag. Remember, stick around here after this race. We got 410s here at Volusia, so the party's just getting started here on the Coast to Coast Racing Network as the Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls onto pit road. 5 laps to go at Volusia Speedway. Brad Waite in the 814. Can he hold off the field? Blake Chapman immediately before those cars get up the full song here goes on the bottom, uses that, runs a little slider here in 3 and 4, and he's got to get up to the top shelf. That's where the speed is right now. Anthony Morano trying to follow Gavin Chatham as Gavin throws a big slider. Gets a little kiss from Brian Moore Sr. Goes around, no caution. Oh, Pat Boyce gets his clock cleaned. Well, we watched it happen live. We're going to go to the Chapman Racing drone camera here. I mean, you got to think Brian Moore Sr., he sees him here. He just, doesn't want to lift and counters in. And that's kind of one of those things where, man, if you're going to throw sliders, you got to kind of allow guys to throw sliders at you. And it wasn't, there wasn't a bunch of room. But as you can see there, I mean, Gavin had the room for the slider. So that's a kind of a tough break. You don't really want to see that happen to you. Let's go on board here, though, before we say too much more. So, yeah, I mean, you can see him. Now, let's rewind. I just wanted to slow it down here. Wrong button. Excuse me. Now we'll get to listen to the motor. And I mean, maybe a little burp there right at the end, but you kind of see him coming up in front of you. The writing's on the wall, and that's where if you want to stay in it, you got to kind of counter down low, shoot it left, and you want to stay out of that guy in front of you. Tough break for Gavin Chatham in the 99. Not the way he wanted to end his night, that's for sure. And Patrick Spangler, is he back out on the track? Yeah, he is. The high side banger back out on the track. Not sure, like I say, what's going on. I know the man has some kids, so might have had some stuff come up there. But Blake Chapman back out on the track here, and it looks like the pace lights are off. The Steve King Foundation pace truck pulls in, and we're going to have a 3-lap shootout here. Is Blake, if you got anything, you got to throw it at him now. 3 to go at Volusia Speedway. Anthony Morano trying to feed that bottom, following the salesman, and he's going to pull door to door here with Brian Moore Sr. Brian's going to send it in. Blake, meanwhile, moved for the lead. Brad Waite with the counter back. My, oh my, Blake is turning the wick up. As side by side entering into 3 and 4, going to throw a slider. Brad Waite trying to counter. White flag in the air, side by side at the line. Blake Chapman trying to see if he can cut underneath the 814. Final time through 3 and 4. Brad Waite trying to throw the counter here. Side by side, Blake Chapman beats him at the line. Led 1 lap here this evening, the most important one. Blake Chapman steals it through 3 and 4. Brad Waite has to take home P2. Brian Moore Sr. holds onto that final step of the podium, as we'll bring up the rest of our finishing order here. But man, oh man, what a show there at the end. As we'll run out Dean Reynolds, Brian Moore Jr., Jeff Barker, Cale Bixler, Gavin Chatham rounds out the top 10. And, well, the rest of the field, Greg Boydell, Bob Curtis, Steve Bixler, Pat Boyce, Patrick Spangler, and Mike Cramner. Hell of a race there at the end, I mean, we had those cautions. You didn't really know, was Blake going to have time to get it done? And, well, the salesman made it. I mean, he got it done. There was no option for Blake at the end. And the kid did what it took here to get the victory, but we're going to give these guys a minute or two to catch their breath. Get up in here into the Discord, and we'll pull them up for their interviews. But man, oh man, Black. I don't think his name's Black A. I was thinking of, I guess, the Key and Peele skit, but man, Blake Chapman steals it at the line. There you see, Blake did almost lead that lap there, but Brad just edged it out. And Blake would not give up, but right now we've got our 3rd place finisher up here, Brian Moore Sr. Brian, you had a quick car there tonight. It just seemed like when you got to 3rd, maybe that was where you were supposed to be here tonight. Those front 2 were pretty fast.
Yeah, I felt pretty fast tonight. Car was working good. I kind of like these setups. And man, I kept getting inside of Blake there and uh, hoping I could get by him, but man, it just wasn't there. I just couldn't pull it off. But yeah, and I'm sorry about all whatever happened there. I hate for that to happen to anybody, but was fun.
Yeah, hey, man, sliders, they're a part of racing. You live by them, you die by them. But at the end of the day, Brian, you get this final step of the podium. Congratulations, man. Who you want to thank?
I thank my son mainly for helping me practice and pushing me to get on here as much as we do. And we've been putting in some laps, so it's starting to pay off a little bit. But man, one of these days I'm going to beat that Blake.
Yeah, man, that's the goal for everyone in here, I think. And
Right?
the time that you
Okay.
do, man, you're never going to forget it. I can tell you that. I beat him one time in a Renegades race, one out of probably the 50 that I was in with him, and I'll never
Right, but
I'll
it's
never
that
forget that
one
race.
you'll remember.
Yes, that's exactly right. Is that kid, man?
Right.
He's quite good, but hell of a job, Brian. You showed you're really getting a lot better, man. This work with your son has improved you. You did a hell of a job on Monday night, and man, you carry it over here again. So good run and good luck here the rest of the way, Brian.
Thank you, Shaggy. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate all you guys do and all you do for broadcasting this stuff and the league. I just appreciate all you guys. This is really fun.
Well, great job tonight, Brian, and good luck here in the 410, brother.
Thank you.
That's your third place finisher. And now, I hate to even say this to him because there wasn't really much of a thought here that this was going to happen. But man, Brad Waite, P2, this one's got to be a little bit tough.
Oh, yeah, it for sure it stings a little bit. But, hey, a P2, I mean, upset I didn't win it, but nothing really hang my head on. I still ran a good race. I felt comfortable, so it is what it is. I'll take it.
Yeah, what do you think was the difference here as we go back and watch this replay? Maybe that slider line in 1 and 2 instead of, looks like you missed that bottom a little bit. You had to float up and, was it just that the bottom was so hard to hit there at the end? I mean, it looks so thin.
I do. I mean, it's one of those things I think I get in my own head. I think, okay, just stick to what I'm doing, make it work. But I knew he was going to be down there, probably throw a slider on me. And I was just trying to at least keep my momentum, maybe get him on the binders a little bit more. When he was coming down the backstretch, going into 3 and 4 on the final lap, I thought, I know he's inside. I don't want to pinch him. I don't drive dirty. I didn't want to take us both out. And I thought I'll give him some room. I tried to cross him up. I honestly thought I had it at the line and didn't. But once again, hey, a P2 is a P2. It was a fun race, clean race, and I'm happy for it.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, like you said, I mean, P2, that's great, dude. And we're points racing here. This isn't a 1 week deal. So a bunch of those P2s, Brad, and, you'll find yourself in a pretty good spot here at the end of the year. So great race, man. You got anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, everybody at Inferno Motorsports, Donald at DNT Designs, you up in the booth, Zach always do a really good job. Everyone here at Coast to Coast, Flatline Racing Bodies for sponsoring the Hometown Heroes. So all those guys, everyone just keep up the good work and good win for Blake. Congrats to him.
Well, hey, hell of a job here tonight, Brad. We're gonna see you pull the 410 out here.
Yeah, I think I'm going to catch some lunch in the infield here quick and then probably try to do it, yeah.
Sounds good, brother. Well, good luck here, man. We'll be rooting for you.
All right, thank you.
That's Brad Waite, your P2 finisher. And now we're going to bring up the man who, you broke a heart here tonight, Blake. You edged him out on that last lap. We saw throughout the night here, I mean, you were the quicker car, but you'd get a run on him and a caution would come out. How frustrating is that, first off?
Yeah, it was really frustrating. It was definitely making me think, that's for sure. I've been in Brad's spot on the, end of a slider that makes you lose the race right on the last corner. And, there's no worse feeling than that, really. But yeah, I knew we were going to have to find a different line just from the laps we got up top, running right behind Brad there. We were pretty even, so I knew I was going to have to find something else. And that slider line was working, but I couldn't get up to where I wanted to be on exit because he was up there. So I was just kind of killing my tires through the middle there. So I decided to go and try the exit of 2 on the bottom looked pretty good, so I tried to hit the bottom there. And the restarts really wasn't working, but then I tried just one more lap after one of the cautions we had, and it worked really well. I was able to pull even with him and then slide him, but then a caution came out. So I was just hoping that we weren't going to have any cautions there in the last 3 or so laps, and yeah, that was a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah, that last restart, going back to it here, we were watching, the whole time, that's a smart thing to do. These things aren't up to full song yet. If you can find that tack on the bottom, go rip that bottom. And you were doing it pretty consistently there on the restarts. And we saw Brad try to kind of shut the door on that first restart, man, but just couldn't hit that bottom and just missed it and floated through the slick. Do you think that was the difference there?
Yeah, that start definitely helped, especially since I only won the race by like 0.02 of a second. That could have been the difference easily. I knew these restarts here are tough because you get behind the pace car there, and then you can only go once it's off. And from the time that it's off to the green flag flies really isn't that much time. So I knew his start had to be pretty quick once the pace truck got off. So I kind of tried to jump it, and I think I jumped it just right, and were able to get a good run there on the bottom in 1 and 2, and slide them in 3 and 4. And I knew it was just going to be a slider battle basically from there on out.
Well, knowledge like that isn't free. It took a lot of laps for you to gain that. You got to memorize these tracks. So a move like that's a veteran move. Hell of a job, Blake. Big win here, man. And these last 2 finishes here in these 360s, they've all been within 1/10 of a second. So pretty impressive here to start the year. Amazing finishes. Big win. Who you want to thank?
Yeah, I got to thank the parents for watching. I got to thank all the guys at KSR. Got to thank Preston at Epsilon Spurt Wraps and Andy at AJ Custom Creations. Got to thank Flatline Racing Bodies for the sponsor for tonight. And I got to thank Steve Bixler, the mayor, for stepping in and admitting tonight. And of course, I got to thank Galen's Gourmet Popcorn. It's some of the best stuff out there. You can head over to their website, and don't forget to use code CART at checkout for 15% off some of their delicious popcorn. And I got to thank you for putting this on.
Well, hey, hell of a job, Blake. Congratulations, man. Good luck here in the 410.
Thank you.
That's your winner here, and going to inherit the points lead in this 20 machine. And, here it goes. And it's one of those deals where right there, you see the flag, man. That is the finish line, okay? Now, if the finish line is in the middle of the straightaway like any other track except Lernerville, Brad Waite wins this race. But boy, man, Blake knew how to get it done. Had just enough there on that slider. And he wins week number 2 here at Volusia Speedway. We're going to take a quick break here on the Coast2Coast Racing Network, and we will be back with more action here at Volusia in the 410. Stick around.
It's time for another edition of RSN Trackside, powered by Bob Johnson Auto Group on Rock Sports Network. Gets on the champion, trying to be a bit of a hiatus, so let's get.
Tonight we'll be talking about it. dollars had come together to support us. And we realized, no, we didn't want to use them for us. We wanted to use them to help others.
The foundation has done so much for so many people. It helps any family that has somebody, whether it be a crew member or one of the drivers, that get hurt. We can help them to get through the situation.
I was injured in a non-wing sprint car accident that broke my neck and left me with a spinal cord injury. I was in the hospital 8 months, and that got really, really expensive. So having that extra help to help push me and my family forward was a big deal.
I was involved in a pretty gnarly sprint car crash. Found out my brain was swelling and bleeding. Pelvic bone was broken. I had 2 cracked vertebrae on my back, and I was in the ICU a little over a week. The Steve King Foundation reached out to my parents. We received a donation from them. Immediately, they started me on what's called neurofeedback, and insurance did not cover the neurofeedback appointments. So we received another donation from the Steve King Foundation. It really helped a lot, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to the Steve King Foundation for everything that they have done for me. This last Sunday, I got to turn laps in my modified here. That was my first laps back in a race car since the accident, and I truly believe that if it wasn't for the Steve King Foundation, I wouldn't be able to do that or be where I'm at today.
Yes, Steve's death is the reason the foundation exists, but it's Steve's life, and it's the lives of racers everywhere, is the reason we're able to do the work we do.
And we are back live on the Coast to Coast Racing Network here with Flatline Racing Bodies, Wednesday night hometown heroes. We're here for part number 2 here at Volusia Speedway. We got the 410s out, a little bit more power in these puppies than the 360s. And, well, Brad Waite looking for a little bit of redemption here in this 814. Said he was going to go have a little pit lunch, got a little snack. And hopefully you can get that thing on the top step here is Blake Chapman. If you didn't watch it, go back, rewind. Man, I didn't think we were going to be able to beat last week between Blake and Patrick. But boy, Blake got the better of the 1-2 finish this time. And Blake stole the show there in the 360s. Only led 1 out of the 25 laps, but it was the most important one. We're going to roll around here. Lap number 1 with the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. Got that Shaggy TV logo on the inside of the wing. Gotta love it. Appreciate that, Patrick. He's ripping it right now. Let's see what he's got. Purple through Sector 1. Personal best through Sector 2. It's going to be between him and the slide job, man. And oh, excuse me, Dino says. I'm going to welcome myself to this party. Is out of shape here on lap number 2. Not going to get better. But the high side banger is going to get a little faster here as he takes over P1. Now this is the guy. Ooh, Isaac Salas jumps up there. P2. See Blake Chapman here. He's coming around on lap number 1. Not going to like this one. Going to be P7 here. As you see the field, man, they are close. Tough to blink that fast. Is Blake Chapman trying to get faster, slower through Sector 1, quicker through Sector 2. Overall improves the lap. P4 for the salesman. Bob Curtis here comes out. Here he is on lap number 1. Let's see what Bob Curtis has. Bob Curtis in the 0-1-2 here. Looks pretty good. Got a little sideways there. Probably around, 14th. I was going to say around 12th here. Looks a little smoother here through 1 and 2. He is green, so he's found a little bit of time. Overdrove the cushion there in 3 and 4. Going to slow down a little bit. Not going to improve his time. As that's going to do it in qualifying. Greg Boydell only able to get the 1 lap in there. He was coming around on lap number 2 as it's going to get cut short, and heat number 2 is going to be underway. Let's bring up this starting grid. 6 guys, 3 rows. The Ant-Man leads the field here in Gambler Motorsports Heat Race number 1. To his outside, Brian Moore Sr. Inside of row number 2, the salesman, Blake Chapman. And to his outside, the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. Steven Bixler rolls off on the inside of row number 3. We call him the mayor. And to his outside, we've got Ludwig Buisson. Calling him LB. That's the easiest thing for Shaggy to do here, but Buisson, that's gotta be good. I mean, I know a little bit of my hockey here from being a Penguins fan, and it's gotta be a close pronunciation. As the Ant-Man looks to bring us to the green flag as we roll through 3 and 4, the Steve King Foundation pace truck will pull off, and all those fans on the inside, well, they're about to get a show here. Let's go play in the clay at Volusia Speedway. 6 laps, heat race number 1 underway. Brian Moore Sr. with an excellent jump on the outside, and Patrick Spangler says, let's go, Brian, I'm ready to party. 4th to 2nd there through 1 and 2. Blake Chapman, really the loser there, got stuck up behind the 32, not able to get around, and he's got the 072 of Buisson on his outside. LB trying to get that run here off of 4, trying to get to the outside of the 20 of Blake Chapman, but there's a battle up front. Patrick Spangler looking for that lead as we enter turns 3 and 4. The high side banger's gonna have it at the line, but not by much. 3 more times around, halfway. That 558 of Brian Moore Sr., he ain't going on without a fight. Brian Moore leads at the line this time. 2 more times around as the 32's found his way up into this picture. He'd love to battle a little bit. Patrick Spangler on the bottom through 3 and 4. White flag in the air. Final time around as the 32 kisses that front stretch wall. We got 4 guys under a blanket. Going down the backstretch, the 39. Kenny slinging in there one final time. He's going to keep it on the bottom. Who's going to win heat race number 1? It's Brian Moore Sr., followed by Patrick Spangler, Anthony Morano, Blake Chapman, Ludwig Buisson, and Steven Bixler. Great clean race there, heat race number 1. As we get ready for heat race number 2, sponsored by Regency Home Inspections. And it's going to look a little something like this. The Brewerton Beast in the 513. Jeff Barker rolls off on the front row, on the inside of the front row. And to his outside, Brian Moore Jr. Dean Reynolds rolls off on the inside of row number 2. And to his outside, slide job, Isaac Salas. Inside of row number 3 there, as we had to get to Dino. He's trying to give us a wheelie. Bob Curtis in the 012 rolls off P5. And to his outside, Greg Boydell in the 014. As Jeff Barker, he just needs to make sure he gets a better restart than the Ant-Man did there in heat race number 1. You really need to float up to the high side right away. You see there's a lot of grip up there, and you want to let these 410s sing. But Steve King Foundation pace truck is off, and Jeff Barker leads us to the green flag. We're underway, heat race number 2. Jeff's going to keep it on the bottom, though, playing Mr. Nice Guy right now, and that may come back to haunt him here as they're side by side. He's got to go up there and close him off through 3 and 4, but he's going to stay low, and Brian Moore Jr. leads lap number 1. Brian Moore Jr. ripping that outside, and slide job, Isaac Salas trying to hook that fishing pole onto that 09 machine and get towed on by. As Jeff Barker, he is committed to that bottom right now. The Brewerton Beast not getting off that bottom row. And, you know, I mean, if you can make it work, albeit, but there you see he's getting a little sideways in 3 and 4, and he's going to lose P2. Now possibly P3 to Dino. Dean Reynolds as Dean tries to go around. Dean Reynolds here started 3rd. Currently running 3rd, but contact between him and Jeff Barker. As let's go see what happened here real quick. We're watching Dino. Let's see what happened with Jeff. Is Jeff maybe thought he was going to get into the back of Isaac, gets into that inside wall, goes up and gets into Dino, and Dino just tough luck there for Dino. The checkered flag is out. Brian Moore Jr. wins heat race number 2. Isaac Salas second. Greg Boydell third. Bob Curtis fourth, and Dean Reynolds fifth. Tried to call him Dean Curtis there. Tried to merge you guys into a fourth and fifth position, and then the Brewerton Beast, Jeff Barker, he rounds out the field. Heat race number 3, sponsored by Regency Home Inspections. Or Maurer Farm Management, Maurer Farm Management heat race number 3. Starting grid is going to look a little something like this. Got 5 cars. Kurt Schatzer rolls off on the front row on the inside. Superman in the 218 into his outside. Brad Wade in the 814. Hunter Grand, Joseph Grandy rolls off on the inside of row number 2 into his outside in the 99. Gavin Chatham. Rounding out the field, Bob DeGood, but it looks like Kurt Schatzer here may have had an EOL. So that's going to move Hunter Grand, Joseph Grandy up to that front row inside spot. So that 518 will lead us to the green flag here as we roll down the backstretch. The Steve King Foundation pace truck will pull off coming out of 3 and 4. And we're going to go play for the final time here in heat races at Volusia Speedway. As we get ready to set the grid here for the feature. 6 laps. Let's go play. The 518 leads us to the green. Bradway trying to immediately counter under. He knew Joseph Grandy was going to go upstairs, and Brad Waite finds a little grip on the bottom down there, loses it in 3 and 4, and now he's going to lose second to the 99. Gavin Chatham with a full head of steam on that outside. Really trying to get a good run here. We saw him and Brian Moore Sr. got into it there in the 360s, and he lost what would have been a good finish. And not clearing to get on the binders. That isn't what he wanted to do here. Now the 814 will be able to throw a slide job on the 99, and the 99's got to look underneath. And this is exactly what Hunter Grand wants to see in his rearview mirror. These guys racing hard for P2. And Joseph Grandy can ride off into the sunset here at Volusia 2 more times around in heat race number 3. Gavin Chatham finally got back into that rhythm, able to fight off the 814, but he's only got a lap and a half here to go run down Joseph Grandy here as 100 Grand takes the white flag one more time around. All in line here at Volusia. One by one by one by one by one near final time through 3 and 4. Gavin Chatham can't answer. Joseph Grandy wins heat race number 3, followed by Gavin Chatham, Brad Waite, Bob DeGood, and Kurt Schatzer. Now with that, we're going to take a quick break here on the Coast to Coast Racing Network, and we will be back with our final feature of the night here, the 410s at Volusia Speedway, presented by Flatline Racing Bodies. Stick around.
edition of RSN Trackside, powered by Bob Johnson Auto Group on Rock Sports Network, gets on the champion. Trying to be a
bit of a hiatus, so let's get... Tonight we'll be talking about it.
As we are back on the Coast-to-Coast Racing Network, 40 seconds left here of warm-ups, and then we got 25 laps here. We'll put the gloves on, settle the scores here at Volusia Speedway. Let me double check here, but I believe last week's winner was Anthony Morano. But with the way the points work here, Blake Chapman, 0 incidents. He is currently the point leader. So, Anthony Morano, your winner last week in that 32 ride, but Blake Chapman in the 20 and currently at the top of the speed charts. Your current point leader looks to extend his point lead here south of the border down here in Florida in Volusia Speedway. Slide job, Isaac Salas there. His fans are out here tonight. We got the Philly Flyer out there in the chat box. We got Kim, Isaac's mom, out there in the chat box tonight. See you guys talking. But right now, I think it's feature time here. Let's get ready. Let's show the starting grid here. Starting on the pole, we've got father, son, Brian Moore Sr. on the inside, and Brian Moore Jr. to the outside. Joseph Grandy on the inside of row number 2, and is outside the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. Inside of row number 3, slide job, Isaac Salas, and is outside, Gavin Chatham. Anthony Morano rolls off P7 inside of row number 4, and is outside, Greg Boydell in the 014. Inside of row number 5, Brad Wade, and is outside, the salesman, Blake Chapman. Inside of row number 6, we've got Bob Curtis in the 012 and is outside in the 7, Bob DeGood. LB Ludwig Buisson rolls off on the inside of row number 7 and is outside, Dean Reynolds. Kurt Schatzer, Superman, he better have the cape on tonight. He's got a long way to go. He rolls off P15 and is outside the mayor, Steve Bixler. Rounding out the field tonight, we've got the Brewerton Beast in the 513, Jeff Barker. As we should roll around here one more time. They normally don't shorten it on me here on the first lap. No, I lied. We're shortening it. They knew Shaggy was ready to roll. Green flag in the air. Let's go racing. We're underway at Volusia Speedway. Cars already getting sideways. Look at him, 3 wide. The high side banger. Patrick Spangler upstairs right away up to P3. Isaac Salas fighting back there on the bottom. As Brian Moore Jr., he's down 4 spots right away. Tough start for that yellow machine as he's sinking like a stone. Gavin Chatham now trying to get to the outside of Isaac Salas in that 5. Isaac just can't get upstairs right now. But Patrick Spangler, he goes low. We got a car around. Dean Reynolds and Brad Waite. Let's see if we can see what happens. I think Dino, possibly the first car involved. If SDK wants to tell us the truth. So he tries to look for a little gap there. Wasn't much of one. Gets into the wall. Gets into Brad Waite. And they both go around and around and around. Let's take a look at a different view here. So we're going to see. Let's go to the outside. I mean, just Dino does get a big run, but really not much room there. And that's going to be one where he's probably, kicking himself a little bit. Break for him in the 814. As Brian Moore Sr. podiumed in the 360s, leads your race, and he's got some dogs behind him. He's got 100 grand. He's got the high side banger. He's got slide job. He's got Gavin Chatham. We need to come up with a nickname for Gavin here. I'm gonna... Man. If it didn't have white on it, I'd call him the Dark Knight. He always runs a black car. You know, we'd call him Batman here. Creeps up on you. Just lurks in the shadows there till the end. You know, might have to call him the Dark Knight. I'm gonna see if that sticks. I'm gonna call Gavin the Dark Knight here. You don't like it, he'll have to tell me, but as far as I'm concerned, that's what's gonna stick, because that guy, he just lurks in the shadows just like Batman, you know. Quiet. But man, when he gets you, he gets you. But right now, the 558 of Brian Moore Sr. gets ready to bring us to the green flag here as we're gonna watch the Steve King Foundation pace truck pull onto pit road, and Brian Moore Sr. leads us to the green flag. Great jump for the 558. Contact between Batman and Blake Chapman, I believe, is the salesman. Oh, that's the aftermath. He is on his roof. We are under caution once again here. I think it started between Gavin and Isaac. Blake may be caught up in the aftermath. We're going to go to the aerial camera here. Going to go with Isaac. So Isaac comes down a little bit, it looked like, got into Gavin. We're going to rewind this really quick. Yeah, I mean, Gavin's there. Gavin does come up a little bit, but they're fighting for the same real estate, and, you know, that's a tough way. That's going to end both their nights here. Let's watch. How does Blake get involved? Oh, man. Blake, he gets rear-ended from behind in a totally separate incident. Blake thinks he's going to make it through this. We were waiting to see Blake get caught up in this. Let's watch this. And is that Greg Boydell in the 014, I believe? It is. Oh, he can't lift in time. He sees Blake coming down. You see the nose dip down. I mean, he does get in the brakes. He tries to miss Blake. But Blake, with a wild ride here, ends up on the lid, has to tow, and mayhem here on the first restart. As lights are off, we're going to go green this time by Blake Chapman, still stuck on pit road. Your current point leader. Is good if Volusia doesn't want to have to use this as a drop week, but man, oh man, he needs to get off of pit road. He does not want to go a lap down. As Brian Moore Sr. brings us to the green flag, and we are back underway here at Volusia Speedway. Joseph Grandy, Anthony Morano, he's the first person to duck out of line. He's going to look downstairs. Can't find a run right now. Let's see, is Blake Chapman, is he going to get off pit road? Is he going to get off pit road? No, he's not. Blake Chapman a lap down. That is going to end the 20s night here. The salesman, tough break for Blake Chapman. Brian Moore Sr. very fast out front. Patrick Spangler started fourth, up to second. Not able to really reel in Brian Moore, though. I guess he is slowly here, but not at the pace we'd expect here from that 39. Let's go back in the field. Let's watch some racing. Bob DeGood trying to get around that 79 of Dean Reynolds. He looks low in 1 and 2. Dino protects that top, and he gets a good run off as now Steve Bixler swoops in. He thinks about a slider. Bob DeGood, he gets into the wall. We watched it happen. No caution. Man, how is that thing still driving? He's still going. Up front, Patrick Spangler, he has reeled in your leader, Brian Moore Sr. All over the tail tank. Here he goes. Is he going to shoot a slider? Not enough room here. He's got to keep it downstairs. 15 to go. 100 grand there creeping up into the picture, and right behind him, the guy who won last week, Anthony Morano in the 32. if these guys get to racing up in front of him, that 32 would love to see that. As Patrick Spangler here, he's looking up on the top shelf here. High and handsome is the 39. Diamonding out of 4. Can he get a run here? He's going to shoot it in. Slide job. Patrick Spangler able to hold it here. They're coming up on the lap car of Bob the Good. Brian Moore Sr. tries a slide job. Bob the Good protecting the top. Looks a little low here as well. That got scary. 100 grand and Brian Moore Sr. trying to find a way around the 7. Joseph Grande, he's got to get low. That 7 is holding his line, doing exactly what he's supposed to do on that high side. As the 558 of 100 grand gets around. Anthony Morano now trying to make his move here. He doesn't want to let those guys get too far away as he gets around the 7 of Bob DeGood. No harm, no foul. Dean Reynolds here. He's behind Kurt Schatzer, who is your biggest mover. Up 9 spots. Started 15th, up to 6th, but there's a pretty big gap between him and Brian Moore Jr.'s Patrick Spangler really unleashing hell on everybody here. Laps the 513 and extends the gap over the 558. Joseph Grande here. If he's got anything in that machine, he's got to get by. He's got to try to go run down that 39 because if we stay green, he is just not going to have enough time if he doesn't get by Brian Moore Sr. soon. But, man, that's a tough task, Shaggy. Brian Moore Sr., he's got some speed left in that 558. Or, I mean, in that, yeah, that 558, excuse me, is the 518 of Joseph Grande. 100 grand throws the slide job. Brian Moore Sr. can't counter back, and he's got to hold on to P3. 6 more times around. Joseph Grande, second gap to our leader, Patrick Spangler's. Patrick Spangler has really let the boys have it. Hammer down here, 5 to go. Brian Moore Jr. in the wall. They're not too bad, but enough. Kurt Schatzer kisses it as well. That lets Dino reel him back in as Dino gets into the wall as he enters 3 and 4. 4 more times around for these guys as we go back up front. Patrick Spangler there riding that cushion right on the edge, finding all the speed he can. He's got the gap up to 1.3 seconds. Meanwhile, battle on for the bottom step of the podium. Anthony Morano had thrown a slider last time. Brian Moore Jr. Senior countered, but Anthony sticks it this time, and with 3 to go, Anthony Morano moves up to P3. 3 and 4 here. White flag in the flag man's hands. It's in the air one more time around for the 39. Patrick Spangler. Misfortune there in the 360. He's going to have to find out what happened. But boy, did he turn the tables. Winner here in the 410s at Volusia. Patrick Spangler, followed by Joseph Grande, Anthony Morano, Brian Moore Sr., Brian Moore Jr., Gavin Chatham, Kurt Schatzer, Dean Reynolds, Greg Boydell, and Ludwig Buisson rounds out the top 10. Big win there for the high side banger, Patrick Spangler, as he's able to get around and show his domination here at Volusia Speedway, as Anthony Morano will let him catch his breath, take a moment, and whenever this man gets up here into the Discord, we'll pull him up for his interview. But you got to think right now with that run, looking at the points here, Anthony Morano will be your new points leader. Here 2 weeks into the season, long way to go, but never too early to run consistent like the 32 has been. 2 top 3s back to back. As we see some of these guys have made their way up there, just waiting on Anthony to peek his head in that waiting room, and we'll pull him up here for his interview. Because there he goes. Anthony, Shaggy up here in the booth, man. You got a copy?
What's up, Shaggy?
Well, hey, man, Blake with a little misfortune tonight. Not sure if you were aware. You with a good top three here, man. You're probably going to take over this points lead. How do you feel leaving Volusia?
Pretty friggin' nervous, to be honest. I don't know what the hell I'm doing in a 410. I'm just just waiting for a big block league to start at 9:30. So I figured I'd kill some time and get a little bit better at sprint cars, but didn't expect to be running up here. So definitely not my forte, but it's something I'm learning, figuring out. Get some help from Dino and making progress, and hopefully we'll get a couple more wins out of this thing.
Yeah, now, I know it's not necessarily your forte, but I mean, throttle control, it kind of rides through all the cars. How much do you think mastering that big block like you and that FTM teammates of yours have, how much do you think that throttle control really helps you in this 410?
A lot. If I can just remember not to, mash the throttle in the heat races into 410s, I'd be a lot better off, I think. Keep forgetting that part and end up doing wheel stands and junking my stuff. But I mean, once the track slicks up, you can definitely tell how much more important it is than, even in like say the big blocks. It's definitely a much bigger thing in the sprint cars with all that power to it and the weight ratio. It's just insane. But I don't know. I mean, it's something different to learn and getting comfortable, and we'll see what happens here in the next few weeks and see if we can give old Blake and Patrick a run for the money here in 410s.
Yeah, man, you keep parking it on the podium, and it's going to be tough for them not to think about you every week. So, hell of a race here, Anthony. Good P3, man. Who you want to thank?
I got to thank my wife, Sherry, the boys over at FTM, Super Dirt Car, and Dean, Logan at High Mom Lens, Gunner at Swan Speed Shop, DJ Sim Shop for the wrap, Extra Installation, Casper Flagstone, MDITV, GripHack.com, Shaggy for doing the broadcast, and everyone back in Coast to Coast.
Well, hey, hell of a job here, Anthony. Good run, and your current points leader, Anthony Morano. Good job, man.
Thanks a lot, Shaggy.
Now, that's P3 there, Anthony. Let's go ahead. Let's bring up Hunter Grand, Joseph Grandy, the man who got P2 tonight. Hey, Joseph, Shaggy in the booth, man. You got a copy?
Yep, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. It seemed like you had a little bit of speed there, but man, when push came to shove, that 39, he ripped the lip and kind of checked out. What could you have done different there?
Probably put a little more pressure on Brian to get around him a little quicker. That was really about it. And after he got by me, I mean, I tried to search around a little bit to try to find a little more speed. And, that's when he broke out a little bit because I couldn't find it anywhere else.
Yeah, how sketchy was it? We're watching here, when you come up on the lappers. I mean, they held their line, but boy, when they're in that preferred line up top, how tough was it to work your way around lap traffic?
It's not too bad as long as they actually hold their line, because then you can, kind of judge what's going to happen. Usually just slide them and you're good. But yeah, as long as they keep their line, it's really not that bad.
Well, hey, hell of a job here, Joseph, man. You were fourth in points coming in with the trouble Blake had. You might find yourself here P2. So hell of a run. And if you can carry this over, man, we may be talking to you here holding the trophy at the end of the season. How's that sound?
We'll see.
Well, hey, good run here, man. Congratulations on the P2. Who you want to thank?
Catalytic Recovery, West End Tone and Repair, Inferno Motorsports, Midwest Sim Sports, what you will say, Speed Shop, Girlfriend Olivia, Coast to Coast, all the guys behind the scenes, and appreciate you, man, for doing the broadcast.
Well, hey, hell of a job, Hunter Grand, man. Look forward to calling your race there tomorrow night. Good luck in the late model.
Thanks.
That's Joseph Grandy, your second place finisher, and now we're going to bring up the man of the hour, the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. First things first, what happened in the 360s?
The power steering went on the car. No, I have that AccuForce wheel, and just it wasn't quite working right. I had no force feedback, and I felt like I was going to take somebody out, so took off there and had to go back and do some setting changes and fix it. But worked out for the 410s.
Yeah, I would say so, man. You're able to rip that lift there, and right now we're in the earlier stages here watching the replay, but man, towards the end, you were right up against that wall in 3 and 4. How sketchy is that thing entering that bump over, as you go into the corner? We see the rear end ride up. How hard is that thing to hold on to?
It was actually nice to see because usually Volusia the past probably year and a half, 2 years is just around the bottom, catfish in the top. It never really goes all the way to the wall, and it finally got back up to the wall. And a couple times they got scary. The car didn't want to turn, so I started just changing up the line a little bit. But yeah, I was just kind of testing the limits there. I believe 360s are coming here later this season, so just hopefully we'll see the top working with 360s later on.
Well, hey, man, hell of a job here, Patrick. Started fourth, finishing numero uno, and, after, I believe you were involved in an accident in these last week, weren't you?
Yeah, I was a hot mess last week.
Yeah,
Every
so
day that I took out.
so now, your points racing basically starts tonight. You wipe out last week, use that as a drop week. Hell of a way to kick it off here, Patrick. Good run, man. Who you want to thank?
Just you for the awesome broadcast and Shaggy TV. Roger run the league. Trainwheels Racing. Everybody for coming out. It's one of the bigger 410 fields we've had so far. So glad to see the field growing. And Dad and Uncle back home watching.
Well, hey, great run, Patrick. Good luck the rest of the way, my man.
Thanks.
And that's the high side banger, Patrick Spangler. He lived true to the name tonight. Banged down that wall. You saw he made that pass there when they came up on lap traffic. Brian Moore Sr. with a little bit of a hiccup left that outside open through 3 and 4, and that's all Patrick Spangler needs. Is just a little glimpse of light there on the outside is there. That's when you see he really drove in that one up over the cushion. That's when he was talking about it getting scary. He kisses the front stretch a little bit. I mean, he did not take it easy out front. He was trying to run qualifying laps the whole time. And Patrick Spangler with an impressive win here, week number 2 in the Hometown Heroes. Big shout out to Flatline Racing Bodies for picking up the sponsorship this season. I am Zach Chapman with Shaggy TV telling you to tune in tomorrow night on the Coast2Coast Racing Network. We've got big blocks and small blocks rolling off around 6 or around 7 Eastern is when the broadcast kicks off. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Don't miss a show. I'm Zach Chapman with Shaggy TV. Have a good night.